with 5 seconds. He's going to throw it. Howard leaps. He has it. Touchdown. Carolina back from the dead to tie the game with 2 seconds to go. Snap back, spot down. The kick is cleanly away. It is good.
And it's
with
yes,
a
sir.
54-yard field goal. And how about them Tar Heels? They do it.
Here's Kupak. Gives off to Amos. He's got it. He's Unbelievable. Unreal.
Jordan back to kick. It's blocked again. Picked up. It'll be a touchdown, Carolina, for Bracy Walker. He blocks his second punt and scores his second touchdown of the season. It's 14-13. Mr. Jordan meet Mr. Walker.
Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio, he's at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me?
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast on Spreaker.com. Welcome in to this edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. I'm Anthony Pagnotta. With the hiring of Mack Brown on Monday, one of the crucial points for Mack Brown in his second tenure in Chapel Hill will be to lock down the state of North Carolina in recruiting. One of the biggest cities is Charlotte, and so we have to sit down and talk to Langston Wertz Jr. of the Charlotte Observer to see what he thinks about the hire and whether or not it will have an impact right here in the Charlotte area amongst recruits. So, I guess we'll start, Mack Brown coming back into the area, and it's created a little bit of buzz, especially here in the Charlotte area. When you look at the hire, what is your honest opinion about him coming back? Do you think the age is maybe a big concern?
Yeah, the age definitely has to be a concern. I mean, he's 67 years old, and it's a young man's game. Football's changed a lot since Mack was at Texas. And, the last couple of years he was having trouble figuring out, do I run a pro-style offense? Do I run a spread offense? And football has changed a good bit even since then. But I think the thought of Mack Brown coming back certainly brings good feelings to Carolina alumni. It probably brings good feelings to many of the high school football coaches, many of whom are still around that were there when Mack was there. I remember going to the Shrine Bowl and Mack would come and he was a big celebrity. He was the biggest celebrity. Everybody loved Mack Brown. I mean, he was the ultimate backslapper, the ultimate handshaker. Everybody loved him, and his teams were winning. And there's no reason why he can't still be that ultimate backslapper, handshaker guy like he was before. But this time he's going to need some young coordinators to really handle the bulk of the recruiting and to really handle the play calling. And he is, and I don't want to say figurehead, but he's more of a administrator, somebody who hands out responsibilities and maybe makes the final call on things. But he's going to need some really good coordinators. And if he gets that, who's to say he can't coach until he's 75 years old? And that way he can. The biggest question, if I'm recruiting, Matt comes to my living room, how am I guaranteed, Coach, that you're going to be there when my son graduates? And, barring, any health issues, I mean, that's the answer, is that I have young guys that are going to keep me energized and take some of the day-to-day responsibilities from me that would drain me, and I'm going to be here. And I think so long as he can tell the next 2 or 3 recruiting classes that, he can rebuild Carolina's program and then hand it off to the next person. But I think Carolina definitely needs to get that guy in waiting. So they don't have to go through another transitional period. But Carolina, Mack Brown's a great hire, I really believe.
Yeah, so, you talked about it, the buzz around the Shrine Bowl really in the past few years with him being there. Why do you think that is, that he sort of stands out like that? Is it just his personality or maybe the focus that he had on the state while he was coaching back at Carolina in the 90s?
Right now, North Carolina State owns the state in recruiting. At one point, of the top 50 recruits, they must have had like 25 of them or something. It was some ridiculous number. And Carolina had like 2. I remember looking at that early this year, and when Mack was there, it was actually the reverse. He owned North Carolina. He shut the door on North Carolina. He stopped allowing recruits to leave. And now you're still seeing the top recruits, Sam Howell, quarterback at Sun Valley, leaving. There's a defensive back at Huff leaving. There's always guys leaving. And when Mack was here, you didn't see that as much. And unlike basketball, where you can get 2 or 3 guys from, California, New York, and Texas and win the national championship, you need to really run your state in football, and Mack ran his state in football. And like I said, he was really good about getting out and meeting all the high school coaches. He made it a point to get to know all the high school coaches. He was the most popular coach in the state, and I still think that those good feelings survive. I was talking to a top recruit in Charlotte yesterday about Mack Brown. He didn't know who he was, and I said, you didn't see him on television. He said no, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing. While mom and dad might remember Mack Brown, the kids may not know Mack Brown. So that's why he needs that younger guy, that name guy, to kind of get in the living room and help him. But once Mack goes into your living room and starts talking to you and starts giving you the stories and the aw shucks manner that he just has that kind of almost perfect personality for a college coach. He's relatable. He's a storyteller. He's incredibly football intelligent. I mean, I think those things are everlasting, and he's always had them in abundance, which is why he's done so well as a football coach. And if Carolina can squeeze 3-4 years out of him, I think they can turn their program around. There's no reason why North Carolina can't be a top 25 program year in, year out.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, and you cover the Charlotte area. Do you think that he will be able to potentially get that footprint quick enough in the 2019 class, or do you think that right now, he's kind of got to scramble to find some of those guys from somewhere else?
It's going to be tough in 2019 because a lot of those guys are committed, but he may flip a few. I mean, I've heard rumors of him being in some living rooms already this coming weekend. So first signing day is coming up on the 14th of December, I believe. He may flip a few, but I definitely think by February, by the second signing date, they can definitely get in on some people. He's going to have to flip some people to get them to come to Carolina, because they definitely have to get on the recruiting trail. But they got, I think, 19 starters or something coming back next year. So they're set up to be strong next year, no matter who the coach is. So I think, he's in a really good spot to make a quick splash. If he gets the right coordinator, they can get that thing turned around really quickly and then nail some of these top recruits. The biggest difference between Mack Brown coming here now and Mack Brown being here in the 90s in North Carolina football is eons better than it used to be. So if you dominate the state of North Carolina now, you can be a lot better than you were then. And then he was top 10 in the country last year.
Yeah, last question I'll ask you, and it really just focuses on that staff that you talked about putting together. If he is able to hire one of those coordinators that is young, is that a selling point that you can really get across to kids? Is that, hey, look, I might be a little bit older, but this guy right here that, whoever that may be, is the coach in waiting. Do you think that kids will really buy into that and really go for that pitch, or do you think that they'll look at some of the other schools as maybe a safer option with guys already established?
No, I think as long as that's clearly communicated and it's backed up by Bubba Cunningham and the folks up in Chapel Hill, I think that can be a positive. And I think it's something they're really going to have to think about doing is having the guy in waiting. Simply because Coach is 67 years old, and if I'm a freshman going in there, it'll be 68 when I get there. So I think that's definitely something they should think about doing. And do I think that strategy would work? Yes, I do. I think that to satisfy the alumni base right now, Mack Brown's the perfect hire. And I think because they did hire an older coach, they need to hire a young coordinator. And in my opinion, kind of say, this is our guy, when Mack decides to step down.
All right, that's Langston Wertz Jr. of the Charlotte Observer right here. He does a great job covering high school football, and he's kind of got a little bit of insight for us on the Mack Brown hire. Thanks for joining us, Langston, and I wish you the best, and look forward to talking to you maybe down the road about some of these guys potentially coming to Carolina.
No problem, man. Anytime.
All righty. All right, so Langston Wertz Jr. from the Charlotte Observer giving you a little perspective on one of the key cities that Mack Brown will have to lock down in his time as the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels. Of course, Mack Brown signed on with the Tar Heels for 5 years, $3.5 million a year earlier this past week on Monday. So, guys, it should be an exciting time in Kenan Stadium coming up with Mack Brown back. And one of the key things that he talked about in his press conference is locking down the state of North Carolina. We'll see just how he is able to do that over the next couple of years. As always, want to thank you for listening to this edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. Subscribe to the podcast on Spreaker, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn.com, or the TuneIn app. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Tar Heels!